Okay, so now our player is moving. Now we need to add the player animations. Right here in the player scripts, we will create a new C# file by the name of player animation. Now let's just open it. First, let's just remove these start and update functions, and right here we will create variables. The first one will be a private variable. It will be a animator type and its name will be animator. Then the next one will be a vector3 and we will name it as temp scale. Then the next one will be a private and it will be a type integer and its name will be current animation. Then after this, right here we will create a private void and then a awake function, and in here we will get the animator from the game object. So we will type animator is equals to get component. Then right here we will type animator and that's it. After this we will create another function by the name of play animation, and in here we will pass a string by the name of animation name. Then inside this function we will add a if condition, and inside this if condition we will say if the current animation is equals to the animator, and we're going to convert this to integer. So for that we will type string to hash, and we want to convert this animation name, so we will pass this right here. So now if the current animation is equals to the animation name, then we will simply return it and then we will play that animation. So for that right here we will type animator dot play, then animation name, and then the current animation will be equals to animator dot string to hash. Then in here we will pass the animation name, and that's it. So for example, if we pass the death animation right here, and if the current animation is the walk animation, then we will simply convert the death animation to the integer, and then the current animation will be equals to now the death. So then we are going to return that death animation and then we will play that animation. And right here we are setting the current animation to the death. So if death animation pass right here, and for example the death animation is on 2, and then the if the current animation is walk and walk is on 1, so as you know 1 is not equals to 2, so on the 2 we have the death animation, so we will return the death animation, we will play it, and then we will set the current animation to the animation which is passed. So as I told you, for example, if we pass the death, then we will set the current animation to death. Now let's just create another function for the facing direction. So right here we will say public void set facing direction, and then in here we will pass a boolean by the name of face right. As you know, our player will be by default facing the right side. So now we will say temp scale will be equals to transform dot local scale. So now in the if condition we will say if the face right, so if the player is facing right, then the temp scale dot x will be equals to 1 f, and In the else condition, we will set the temp scale to dot x and it will be equals to -1f. So if he's facing the right side, then the value will be 1, and if he's facing the left side, then the value will be -1. And after this, we will equal the transform dot local scale to the temp scale. Now let's just save this and get back to the player movement script, and right here after this x and y axis we will create another variable. It will be a private variable. Its type will be player animation and its name will be as well player animation. Then right here down below we will say private void awake. So inside this awake function we will set the player animation to the player animation. So we will type get component, and in here we will pass the player animation, and that's it. So the player animation will be equals to the player animation component. Now let's create a function for the animation handling. So after this handle movement, as you can see right down below, right here we will create a function for the handling of the animation. So we will name it as handle animation, and also we are going to call this function in our update function, or else it will not work. So in here we will play the animation. So for the walk animation we will use this axis. So if the x-axis is 1, then we will play the walk animation, and if it is y, then we will flip the side and he will move backwards. So right here for that we will type mathf.abs. So in here we will say if the x-axis is greater than 0, then after this we will say for the y-axis. So just copy and paste this and change this to y-axis. So if the y-axis is greater than 0, so if the x-axis and y-axis is greater than 0, then we will play the walk animation. So for that right here we will simply type player animation dot play animation and tag manager, and then the animation name is walk animation name. So we call this walk animation right here. And if the player is not moving, okay, for example if you are not pressing any button, then we will simply play the idle animation. So you can just simply copy this, paste it down below, and just change this name to this one, which is idle animation. So copy it and paste it right here. So now if we save this, get back to Unity, and let me show you one thing. If we attach the player animation script to our player game object, okay, and now let's just test the application. So it came, so as you can see it is showing the idle animation. If we move forward, as you can see it is playing the walk animation, and if we move backward, as you can see he is not changing the facing direction. So for this we will create a function, and then when we click the backward arrow, then the face of the player will be changed.